Am I the idiot for shouting at my parents and calling them blind? I, female 19, have an elder sister, female 25, who recently lost her best friend due to a car accident. They were friends from literally when they both were babies. All this has affected her in a really bad way. It's been 2 months since the accident, and ever since then she has been really quiet. She barely eats anything or talks to anyone. Her college grades have also dropped. Seeing all this, I'm really worried about her. I tried talking to her, but she won't open up to me. I couldn't see her like that anymore, so I suggested to my parents that we should let her seek help from a professional like a therapist. But here's the thing, my parents don't believe that mental health issues are real. They are very traditional people when it comes to mental health, apart from that they are really up to date with everything. It's just the mental health that feels like a taboo to them. They just told me that there is nothing therapy can do and that she will get over it soon. But I told them that it's not a thing which you can get over soon, and the condition my sis is in, I don't think that she will get over it soon. But my parents wouldn't hear the end of it. Then they started to telling me about my cousin, whom I don't really know or talk to, that she faked that she was in a really bad mental health state just to get attention from people around her, and that her parents wasted a lot of money and time on her therapy, so they don't believe it. They don't think my sis needs therapy because she is not depressed or anything like that. At this point I'm furious, and I kinda raised my voice and said, WTF guys. My sis is not like her, and she is clearly not faking it. Can't you guys see her? The way that she is being, she is not okay. How freaking blind can you guys be? And are we gonna wait around till the time she gets freaking depressed to seek professional help? Mind that it was the first time I was talking to them in this way. All of this just for my sis, who was their daughter as well. My parents got mad at me for raising my voice and calling them blind, and scolded me for talking to them like that and cursing at them, and also told me that I'm young so I shouldn't talk about things that I don't understand. They called me a brat and are not on speaking terms with me. Am I the idiot for shouting at my parents and calling them blind? Comments before the update. About the idiot. It sounds as if your sister is already experiencing depression. Have a son that deals with it. Grief will definitely take you through various emotions and can take a while to cope with. Please reach out to someone now for her, and kudos for being a great little sis and looking out for what's best for her. Best to all of you, not the idiot. You may be the one to raise your voice, but your sister's behaviors are what's screaming for help. It is so sad that you had to frame it as something that your parents should let her do. It sounds as if you are trying so hard to be your sister's voice to your parents. Your sister should be the one to want to see the therapist, but it should be a very viable option. Your parents burying their head in the sand by pretending that depression doesn't exist isn't going to make it go away. Your sister may not slip into a depression, but validation and support can really help. Update. After reading all of the comments, I went ahead and talked to my sister, and I asked her how she would feel about trying to talk to a professional. She didn't agree right away, but after a little coaxing, she agreed to it. I told her what happened between our parents, and let's just say there were many tears and hugs after that. I then made my parents sit down on the dining table. I apologized to them for shouting and cursing at them, but I told them that mental health is a real thing and we should at least give talking to a professional one chance. If my sister doesn't feel that it's helping her, we will take a look at some other options. My parents didn't agree at first, but then I told them this time in a very polite manner that it is a really difficult time for my sister and we should help her in this time, and knowing that they were here to support would mean the world to her. I also told them that having mental health issues and seeking professional help is nothing to be ashamed of. Instead, we should embrace it because it's okay to need someone's help. At this point I was a crying mess, and my parents were on the verge of crying as well. They were reluctant, but they agreed. We went to our sister room and we told her that we are here whenever she needed us. Our parents apologized for behaving the way they did and told us that there is nothing more important than seeing their children happy, and that they would be coming to the sessions if my sister feels like she needs them there. All this ended in a big hug and a lot of happy tears. So my sister is going for an appointment next week. I hope everything goes well. Fingers crossed. Not the idiot. This update warms my heart. You are an incredible sister, and I'm proud of you for how you handled yourself when talking to your parents. I'm so happy your parents came around and realized your sister, their daughter, is hurting and needs them more than ever. I'm also very happy your sister is going to get the help she needs. I wish you and yours all the love, strength, and healing. How would you deal with these parents? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for lying to my son? My son's father just got out of prison and contacted me about seeing him. He was in jail awaiting trial when my son, Ken, was born, and I did not put his name on the birth certificate. When I got married, my husband adopted Ken. Ken is 16 now, and he had no idea his dad wasn't his biological father. I was at a crossroads, but I decided that since Ken is almost an adult, I had to be honest with him. My husband and I sat Ken down and told him the truth, and that his bio father wanted to meet him. Ken was furious with me and didn't want to finish talking to us. He went to his friend's house. Ken didn't give me a chance to explain why I did what I did. I wanted Ken to have a happy, normal childhood, unburdened by the knowledge that his father is a criminal. I wanted him to have a healthy male role model. Ken has thrived and is doing great in school. He has friends and even mentors middle schoolers through a program at school. I think my deception helped him. Still, my son feels betrayed and currently won't answer my calls. My husband managed to get a text saying he is okay and to give him space, but that is all. Was I wrong for trying to protect him? Comments before the update. You're the idiot. I know how your son feels right now. I've been in a pretty similar situation. My biological father was never in the picture, even went to jail for not paying child support. My dad, however, was always there for me. Since I was born, he married my mom when I was 3 and I got his last name, so I never suspected in any way that he's not my biological father. My parents sat me down to tell me when I was around 14 and I cannot tell you how much this hit me. It felt like my whole life had been a lie, that I could trust nothing my family ever told me. It took a long time to work through this for me, not the idiot, as someone who went through the same situation but different. My mom was an addict and in and out of the system. She left me on the floor of an apartment when I was born and my dad was finally able to get me out of foster care when I was 6. My dad was honest about my mom, and all I could do was wish every night for her to come home. I looked for her for years. She used aliases. Up until I was 15 I found my older brother, who was also left behind by her, who wanted absolutely nothing to do with me, and that broke me. My dad, when I was 18, told me he honestly wished he would have told me she died so that I wasn't so obsessed with getting a chance to meet her. My dad died in 2019 when I was 22 and I finally decided to try and find her again. I was older and had more money and actually succeeded in 2022, April. I found out she made a whole new life for herself, raising 2 kids with a husband and my newfound little brother 18 and little sister 15-year-old. She died in 2021 from complications from past drug use. I was devastated all over again. You can't expect a parent to make the right choice in situations like this. Yeah, I have closure that she's gone, but there's a lot of childhood trauma that I could have gone without. My dad would say my mom was sick and when I got old enough let me know she was a meth addict. He also was an addict and got clean, and did a lot of classes to get me out of foster care. He said not everyone's as lucky as he was when it came to getting clean, and never made my mom to be a monster, but damn does it suck as a child to really know the truth. I think 16 is a fair age to get to know the truth about your parents when the situation isn't as pretty as we would like it to be. Yes, it's a freaking bombshell, but at least you didn't hide it forever. I wish I was older when I found out instead of telling people at 10 years old that my mom ran away when I said I didn't have one. Update. I know most people here think I'm a terrible mother, so you probably don't want to hear from me again. However, if anyone out there is struggling with a similar situation to the one I had, maybe this can help you. My son and I sat down and had a long talk. He wanted to know everything about his biological father. I told him there are some things I would prefer not to tell him. But what if he insisted? He insisted, so I told him everything. It was very hard for him, and he had a lot of complicated emotions about it. He asked if his biological father knows where we live. He doesn't. All he has is my email. However, we aren't exactly hidden, and finding us is a possibility. I asked if he wanted me to respond to the email or ignore it. My son asked me to email his biological father and ask him to leave us alone. He asked if his bio father knows our current last name, and I said he shouldn't. He told me that he is hurt that I lied to him. He feels like he can't trust me as much as he once did. I told him that I was sorry, and that part of growing up is learning that parents aren't perfect and don't have all the answers, always make the right choices. He had a long talk with my husband. He said he still considers my husband dad, and they hugged it out. All in all, I regret my decision. I think it would have been better to tell him at a young age that his dad isn't his biological dad. Then he would have had time to adjust instead of finding everything out at once. As it is, this is a huge revelation to deal with at a time in his life where he's already got a lot on his shoulders. Not the idiot. Good for you. It sounds like you guys are on the right path. Don't listen to hate on here going forward. 99% of the people who will criticize you for this update are people who spend their lives online. They don't want to acknowledge that people are capable of growth. They just like the little hit of serotonin they get when they send a hateful reply. Not the idiot. His trust in you will return. Right now, the hurt is all he feels. The fact that he's willing to sit down and talk it out shows that, no matter what, he loves you. Keep talking, give him time, and it'll eventually work out just fine. Good luck. Should she have told her son? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for telling off my parents? For some background info, I, female 18, have never had the best relationship with my parents. They became teen parents and had a hard time raising my siblings and I for years, which took a toll on them. My mother has always been tough to get along with and my relationship with my dad was always based on conditions. They were usually hard on my siblings and I and my older brother T couldn't stand them, so he moved out and limited contact with them. I'm not really sure if that puts some things into perspective or not. Anyways, about 2 years ago now I started dating my boyfriend, who I'll refer to as Jeff, 19 meters. Jeff and I kept our relationship a secret from my parents as long as we could until eventually my dad found out. Suffice to say, he was upset that I didn't tell him and my mom was indifferent to it. As we started getting more serious, he and I got intimate for the first time a few months after we began dating. And once again my parents found out. Like any other parent, they were very angry but took it to a new level by calling demeaning names, which I admit did hurt. Their unnecessary and mean comments only continued from there, and as I got older, I began to fight back. The other day, I had just come home from work and wanted to spend some time with Jeff, so I told my parents I'd be going over to his house for a bit. Immediately, they blew a fuse and started going off on me, saying I'm not going anywhere and they know I only want to go with him so I can sleep around with him and his roommates. His roommates are in their 20s and quite frankly not my type, so I blew up too and told them they're being ridiculous. Eventually I got so pissed that I said some hurtful things like how my older brother never visited because they made him miserable and they sucked his parents and I wanted nothing to do with terrible people like them. Now they're hurt and not speaking to me and I'm starting to feel like I was totally in the wrong. Am I the idiot? Edit. I feel like I'm the idiot because I blew up back at them instead of just trying to speak to them calmly, but I don't know if that would have made a difference. Not to mention hurting them by saying my brother hates them. Comments before the update. Not the idiot. Look into childhood emotional neglect. CEN and Dr. Jonas Webb. Everyone has a breaking point. You and they have just found yours. At 18, you are legally an adult and capable of making decisions for yourself. Understandably, because you're still living with your whole life givers, they likely expect certain rules and demands to be followed. Your adulthood be damned. That's unfortunately their right as parents and shelter providers. It doesn't mean that their expectations and demands of you are fair or just, especially if they become abusive when you want to do something reasonable. Unsolicited advice: get out ASAP and don't look back. Chances are, they're never going to change and will only continue to insult and injure you, not the idiot. Opus, you weren't being hurtful when you said those words. All you said was the truth, and if you dance around the truth, they will never get better. So good on you, Opus, for calling them out. And also, yelling at your kid about how they're going to sleep around it, just not how you handle something at all. I would have been surprised if you didn't say anything about that. Update: it's been a little while. I've been working, but I finally got some time off, so I thought I'd update. Long story short, it didn't go well. I told my parents that they were being childish and they didn't take it well. We got into a screaming match and I finally called it quits for them. I'm not going to continue to let them disrespect me over things that they're the only ones unhappy about. On the bright side, I moved out and moved in with Jeff. He and his roommates let me stay without paying rent until I can find a place of my own with Jeff and get back on my feet. So all in all, all's well that ends well. I'm going to continue to focus on myself, and when my parents decide to grow up, they know where to find me. If not, it won't be a total loss. Thank you to you guys for helping me see that what was going on wasn't okay. Hopefully from this point forward things will go uphill for me, not the idiot. Good job looking out for yourself. I'd recommend reaching out to other estranged family members if you have the chance to. Abusers tend to isolate their victims from those who can help. Maybe they wanted to get closer to you but couldn't stand your parents. Here's to hoping not everyone is as crazy as your parents.